Welcome to another episode of Poko Prime Time Picks.
Poko's Prime Time Picks.
Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 5 of Poko Prime Time Picks. So this is a little background on what we're doing here. We have 3 brothers, the Poko brothers. We have me, Poko, Scott Poko, Terry Poko, and our sons. We have Michael Poko and Ryan Poko. And we do Survivor League picks. And we give you our primetime picks every week. Now, this is in honor of Butch Poko, our father, who loved fantasy football and he loved doing Survivor League. So let's get on with the show. So my main co-host, Michael Poko, he is on assignment in San Diego and could not be here with me today. So I would like to welcome our new co-host. He is a Poko. He is part of the Poko Primetime Picks team. I'd like to welcome Terry Poko. Welcome to the show, Terry.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great. So now that we're 5 episodes into Poko Primetime Picks, how have you liked it?
I've loved hearing you guys, what you guys have thought about the games, how it's been, how the production has increased over time. I think it's really great.
That's good. And we appreciate all your picks. And hopefully down the road, we'll have some more new co-hosts. So this part of the show, we want to review last week's pick. So last week, the Poko Primetime Picks team went with the Seattle Seahawks. Now, the Detroit coach, he had a 1-3 record against Seattle. So really, there was no way this pick was going to fail. And that's why I picked the pick. And I went on an island against my family, and I was for sure Seattle was going to come through. And yeah, the pick didn't really work out that great. Terry, what did you think of the game?
I thought it was a very entertaining game. Seattle actually played pretty well, but Detroit, especially on offense, looked like the team we were expecting them to be. They looked balanced, talented, very explosive. As an aside, I mean, as a Bears fan, not to get too Bears fan-y, but if they want to do something this year, they better start making hay now, because that back half of the schedule with all 6 division games isn't looking like a whole lot of fun.
Oh, I agree with that. That's a good point. And the play of their quarterback, who everybody thought was just an afterthought when they made the trade for Stafford, he's really turned out to be really an asset in his later years.
He's, I think, reaching his ceiling. I mean, I think he can be a winning quarterback when he's surrounded by talent, and I think he's showing that. And Montgomery on that run, that was like vintage, like Peyton, just running, just knocking people over.
Yeah, and I shouldn't have gone against my son because that was one of his favorite players is Montgomery. He was a very good Bear. He's very productive, and he's just continued it with Detroit. So I just want to say that I'm hopeful that the family will not leave me on the island, that they will send a dinghy
Okay.
to bring me back to shore. I've learned my lesson. So this is the part of the show where we like to run down our personal Survivor team picks. Now, this past week, we saw some unusual events in our work league. It's interesting that we have 50 players in our Yahoo Survivor League, and there's only 31 active players left, and then 20 of them already have 2 strikes. So this has been a very unusual. I've heard a lot of water cooler talk at work where people are saying they don't think that the league will make it to the playoffs. So I'm going to give a rundown of those picks. So last week, Michael Poko, he picked Pittsburgh, and unfortunately, he has gotten 3 strikes, so he is out of the Yahoo Survivor League for his personal team. For Terry, he picked Dallas, which came through. How do you feel this point of the season with 2 strikes? It's a little unusual for you, Terry.
Not great, but it's one of those years that it's tough in the beginning of the years, I feel like lately. Maybe because people don't play in the preseason, but they come out really inconsistent. And I feel like that's what's happening now.
Yeah, I agree. And it's been a few teams that have really been taking people down. And for Scott Poko, he went with San Fran. He has 2 strikes, but he's still alive. As for me, I had 0 strikes in the league. I am no longer a unicorn. I went with the Jets, and wow, they held Bo Nix to 60 yards, yet I still received a strike. So there are no more unicorns in our league. So this is where I'd like to move on to a segment that we call Candidate Corner. Candidate Corner. This is where we pass on to you the picks that we are considering for this coming week. Now, we always include the primetime games. So we have Thursday night football, Sunday night football, Monday night football. We like to add a little flair to our channel. So we include the national broadcast games. So we will always have the Tony Romo game, the Tom Brady game. And for this week, we have a bonus game. And that's the game in bloody London. So, with that being said, I would like my co host Terry to give a breakdown of this week's primetime candidates.
Okay, great. 6 games this week, so let's get to it. Tampa at Atlanta. This is the Thursday game with both teams available. Both teams are also coming off wins. Tampa beat Philly pretty handily to improve to 3-1. Definitely a quality win. Baker Mayfield continues to play well, but Philly was pretty beat up. Atlanta beat New Orleans with a walk-off field goal to even their record at 2-2. Atlanta won, but the offense still isn't clicking yet. This is a tough game to pick with two teams that seem squarely in the middle of the pack. Second game is Jets versus Minnesota. This is the London game. Jets are not available, and they're coming off a loss to the Broncos in kind of a bad weather slugfest. This team hasn't completely come together yet. The defense is solid, but the offense isn't there. I expect eventually Rodgers to figure it out. When doesn't he? And the offense to improve, but probably not this week against a tough Vikings D. Minnesota, on the other hand, is 4-0 and playing really well. They've beaten some good teams, too. They're playing well on both sides of the ball, which shouldn't be a complete surprise. They have a talented roster and good coaching. Big question was always Sam Darnold, who's playing good ball right now. They're good, but are they 5-0 good? I'm just not sure. Green Bay versus the Rams is the third game. Both teams also in play here. Packers fell to 2-2 with a close loss to the Vikings, but they did get Jordan Love back, and he looks solid. I'd be surprised if he didn't continue to improve with another week back. The Rams fell to 1-3 with a loss to our beloved Bears in a close game and are really banged up. But they're at home and still have McVay and Stafford, so they're dangerous. This could be a good game with good quarterback playing two of the best coaches. But with the Rams as depleted as they are, I'd have a hard time not leaning towards the pack. Arizona at 49ers. Both teams available here. The 49ers easily beat a bad Patriots team to improve to 2-2. It's been a rocky start for them with some key injuries and some inconsistent play. Even with that, they still have some elite talent, and Brock Purdy continues to sling it. The Cardinals just got smoked by a possibly good Commanders team to fall to 1-3. They played a tough early schedule, and before last week were competitive in it. Trey McBride, their good young tight end, is back, and Kyler Murray is always capable of going off, so this could be a good game. With that said, I think the 49ers are a solid candidate this week. Dallas at Pittsburgh. Cowboys aren't available to pick. The Cowboys are coming off a close, unimpressive win over the Giants to improve to 2-2. It was a Thursday game, so they will be coming off extended rest. The Cowboys are the Cowboys. They have talent on both sides of the ball and are a quality team, but they can lose, sometimes big to anybody. The Steelers dropped a close game to the Colts to fall to 3-1. They fell behind early by a couple of scores, but they battled back. Justin Fields continues to play well and has cleaned up some of the issues that plagued him back in Chicago. Their defense is always solid. Mike Tomlin teams make you beat them, and the Cowboys, to be honest, sometimes show up get ready to get beat. All that said, I'm kind of leaning Cowboys here, so there may be better options. Monday night game is New Orleans at KC. New Orleans is available. New Orleans is a hard team to figure, as we all learned a couple weeks ago against Dallas. A couple of blowout wins followed by a couple of close losses leave them at 2-2. They've shown the ability to run the ball, which is good, but counterpoint against the Chiefs is going to take a lot from Derek Carr, and that looks like a tall order. The Chiefs aren't available, but they are 4-0 and have apparently reached the point in their dynasty where they don't have to play well or be healthy to beat most anybody. Must be nice to be a Chiefs fan.
That's a
I
great
agree.
rundown, Terry. I
Oh,
really
thanks.
appreciate that. So, Terry, there's a couple things I picked up on, and one of them is that you mentioned 2-2. It seems like a lot of the NFL teams this year are 2-2.
It seems like almost all of them, to be honest. There's very few 3-1, or is there only two 4-0s. So
Yeah,
everyone else seems to be in the 2-2s with a few 1-3 sprinkled in.
yeah, I agree. And the other thing that I noticed was when you were talking about Dallas, they've got a couple big injuries on defense.
Yeah, they do, which makes the Steelers more attractive, I believe. But the Cowboys, I don't know. They're one of those teams that can show up when you least expect it and cannot show up when you least expect it. So I generally tend to stay away as much as I can.
Yeah, so when I look at this week's games, first you stare at it, you go, oh, there could be a lot of easy ones, but there might be some tough ones as well. So thanks for that great summary. So this is the point of the of broadcast where we go over our picks. So like I said, my normal co-host Michael Poko is on assignment. He is in the San Diego area. He seems to be looking for the Charger Stadium. Hasn't been able to find it yet. So he's going to keep looking for that. But he did record his pick, and here's his pick.
My pick of the week is going to be the Minnesota Vikings over the New York Jets. The Vikings have surprised a lot of people and one of the few undefeated teams left, and I think that they might be the real deal.
Okay, Terry, let's get your pick of the week.
So this one, I'm a little bit conflicted about. I don't know. When you do this for a little while, you start to like develop scar tissue around certain teams, and because they kind of beat you. Well, the Cowboys are one. The Cowboys, they're usually good, and I pick them and they lose. The Cardinals are another. They're usually not very good, but when I pick against them, it seems like I rarely lose. But that said, I'm leaning towards the 49ers. But I could be convinced to go otherwise.
All right, good pick. So for my pick, because I'm coming off of a double loss, I've got to be careful what I go with. So I was leaning towards Minnesota. However, traveling to London can always be a challenge for NFL teams. So sometimes you don't get the play that you think you're going to get. I know the coaches don't necessarily like it. The NFL loves it, but the coaches don't like it because it throws off their battle rhythm and they have to take that long plane ride. So, like you, I'm going to go with the 49ers. Um, Even though a lot of their weapons are out, I think Kittle will play again. And I think Arizona, I just don't know if they made the right choice by signing their quarterback to that big extension. So we'll see. And Terry, if you could give us a rundown of Rhino and Scott's Poco's pick of the week.
Well, Uncle Scott and Rhino are also going with the San Francisco 49ers.
Okay. Sounds like we're leaning towards the 49ers. And of course, that leads us to our Triple P segment of the show. So on Poko Primetime Picks, we are a democracy. However, we have to have one person make the final decision. And that person is our principal primetime picker. Last week wasn't very successful, so let's hope this one is more successful. This week, Terry Poko is our principal primetime picker. Go ahead, Terry, make your pick.
Okay, let's try and get this back on track. I am going to go with the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to hold my nose and go against the Arizona Cardinals, even though it hasn't gone well for me in the past. I just think there's enough talent there, and Kyle Shanahan's the best coach in the game. So I'm going with the 49ers.
I agree. He is one of the best coaches for sure. He definitely runs the best offenses in the league. And they definitely have talent on defense as well.
Yes.
So this is where we're going to close out the show. Do you have anything to plug?
No, nothing to plug today.
All right. Well, I appreciate you joining me on the podcast and being a co-host.
Oh, thank you so much. Anytime. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So we have come to the end of another show in our PPTP Riverside Studios. So for my co-host, Terry Poko, and myself, we hope all your Survivor picks fly the W this week. And go 49ers. Please click like and subscribe. And we hope to see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Poco's Prime Time Picks.